as always, your practice test will look just like your test. So if you did well on the practice test, you should do just fine on tomorrow's test. Question, or part A, for each of them asked you to name the solid. This first one is a triangular pyramid. So for part A, you should have a triangular pyramid. The base of this pyramid is a triangle. Part C wants the area of that triangle. How do we find area of a triangle?
1/2 base times height.
1/2 base times the height. What is the base and the height of this triangle? 6 and 8. Remember, it's the two sides that create the 90-degree angle. So 6 and 8 create the 90-degree angle, giving you 24 feet squared for your answer for the area. Part D, you are writing the volume formula. So which formula you use? Because it's a pyramid, it's 1/3. And then it's a triangular base, so it's 1/2 base times height. And then the height of the whole thing. You already found 1/2 base times height. You already have that answer. You did that in part C. So 1/3 times 24, which is my 1/2 base times height, times the height of the whole thing is 6, gives me 48 feet cubed. Number 2 is a triangular prism. Base is a triangle. This one was tricky. What is the base and the height of this triangle?
7 and 3.4.
7 and 3.4. Because 7 and 3.4 create your 90-degree angle. When I plug all that in, I get 11.9 meters squared.
Oh, so if you round that to 12?
Okay, so the question is, can I round it to 12? Because it's asking you to keep it to the nearest tenth, you won't get full credit, but you won't lose all your points. Okay, so make sure you're reading what it's asking you to round to. Part D, the formula is going to be 1/2 base times height times the height of the whole thing. Again, you already know the 1/2 base times height. So 11.9 times the height of the whole thing, which is 8, gives you 95.2 meters cubed. There will be one just like number 2 on your test, where the base and the height, or specifically the height, is inside the triangle. Number 3, you have a rectangular prism. Your base is a rectangle. Area of a rectangle is length times width, so 77 meters squared. Formula for a prism is going to be length times width times the height. You already know the length and the width is 77, and the height of the whole thing is 6, giving you 462 meters cubed as your final answer. Questions on 1 through 3? Number 4 is a sphere. It does not have a base, so you don't have to do parts B and C. What is my formula for a sphere?
V equals 4/3 pi r cubed.
Okay, 4/3 pi r cubed. And my radius is 8. So 8 cubed times 4/3 gives you 682.7 pi feet cubed. Okay, so I'm leaving it in terms of pi for this one right now. Make sure on your test tomorrow you just read what the question's asking you for. Okay. Number 5, I have a rectangular pyramid. If you put square pyramid, that's fine, but a square is a rectangle. The base is a square or rectangle. Either one is acceptable. I'm going to write rectangle just so it matches my pyramid. Area of the base? 81, 9 times 9, so 81 m squared, meters squared. Formula is 1/3 because it's a pyramid, length times width because of the base, times the height of the whole thing, and I already know the length and the width. So 1/3 times 81, because that's my length and width, times the height of the whole thing is 10, for a grand total of 270 meters cubed. And then finally for number 6, we have a cone that has a circle base. Area of a circle is what? Formula. Pi r squared. So my radius here is 2. 2 squared is 4. So this is 4 pi yards squared. If I want the formula for volume, it's 1/3 because it comes to a point, pi r squared because of the circle, times the height of the whole thing. And again, you already know pi r squared, so 1/3 times 4 pi times the height of the whole thing, which is 6. Your final answer is 8 pi yards cubed. Questions on that one? Or those 3? How are we doing so far? Good? Pretty decent? So hopefully tomorrow's test will be good for everybody as well. Okay, yes. I don't know yet. So the question was, are the formulas going to be on the test tomorrow? Yes and no. I don't know for sure, but some questions may have it, some don't. You should know what the formulas are. Okay. Number 7 is a cylinder. We have a circle base. We already said the area of a circle is pi r squared, so pi times, what's my radius? 4 squared, which is 16 pi miles squared. For volume, it's pi r squared times the height. I already know pi r squared is 16 pi, so I'm going to multiply that by the height, which is 10. So my volume is 160 pi miles cubed. What is the solid for number 8?
Hemisphere.
A hemisphere. Again, it doesn't have a base, so you can skip B and C. What is the formula for a hemisphere? 4/3 pi r cubed, and then all of that is going to be divided by 2.
If we do 1/2 times 4/3 pi r cubed, does that matter?
That's fine too. So yes, you can do 1/2 times 4/3 pi r cubed. That's fine too. So 4/3 pi, what's my radius? 12 cubed, and all that's going to be divided by 2. And when you plug it all into your calculator, you get 1,152 pi feet cubed. Still doing okay?
Yep.
Okay. Composite figures. What 2 solids do you see in number 9?
A rectangular prism and a square pyramid.
Okay, so we see a prism and a pyramid. So the prism, volume is length times width times height, because it has a rectangle base. So 15 times 15 times 10 gives you 2,250 for the volume of the prism. For the pyramid, it's 1/3. My base is still a rectangle, so length times width times the height of the whole thing. So 1/3 length. What's my length and width of the pyramid base?
15, 15.
15 and 15 still, and what's the height of the pyramid?
10.
Of the pyramid is 8.
I'm at 8.
So when you multiply all of that out, you get 600. Now what am I going to do with those 2 volumes? Why am I adding?
Because they're stacked on top.
They're stacked. It's like blocks. So 2250 plus 600 gives you a total volume of 2850 inches cubed. Okay, so remember, if they're stacked, you add them. If one's inside the other, you're going to subtract. And there may be one like that tomorrow, so just be prepared. Number 10, what two solids do you see?
Prism and hemisphere.
Prism and a hemisphere. So prism, we already know is length times width times height. So 8 times 12 times 8 for a total of 768. Hemisphere, 4/3 pi. What's my radius?
4.
How'd you get 4?
Because you divide 8.
So this distance all the way across is 8, because it's 8 here, right?
Yep.
And then that gives you 4, because it's half. So 4/3 times 4 cubed divided by 2 gives you 42.7 pi. Now these are also stacked, so we're going to have to add. The problem is this pi, so we actually need to multiply. So 42.7 times pi gives you 134 when you round it. Some of you may have 134.1, and it's because you actually did 42.7 times pi. When I did it, I kept the 42.7 and the rest of the decimal and multiplied it by pi, so our rounding's slightly off. You'll still get credit for that. Okay? So 768 and 134 gives you 902 centimeters cubed. (11) and 12. Oh my goodness. We are still missing this problem on like all the tests. I would say 50% of you missed this problem on your last test. We should know how to, at this point, simplify a radical. Okay, so number 11. First thing you need to look for is if it's a perfect square. If it's not, we're going to use the factor tree. What two numbers multiply to 132?
11 and 12.
11 and 12?
Yeah.
Okay. No one's giving me that one today. 4 and 33 works. 2 and 66 works. So you have a lot of options. 11 doesn't break down. 12 breaks down to 3 and 4. And then 2 and 2. Okay, here's where we struggle. So we can break it down. And then we can circle, but we don't forget what to do from there. If you circled a pair, that pair comes out as a single term. Okay, so it's not 2 times 2, it's just a single 2. And then what's left over stays inside. So the 3 and the 11. Your final answer should be 2 square root of 33.
Yep.
Yes?
I understand that. I just have a question. Sometimes if you know how it gives you the answer, like without the sign,
Uh-huh.
the sign. So if it gives you the answer without the sign, you don't have to like put it.
Correct. So like 81. If you take the square root of 81, the answer is 9. There is no decimal. You don't have to do the factor tree. It's just that whole number. Okay? 425 breaks down to...
17 and 25.
Okay. And then 25 breaks down to 5 and 5, so that's my pair. 17 is on the inside. All right, do we remember circumference area, arc length, and sector area?
Yeah.
I hope so. It was your last test. Right? Yeah, your last test. There will be questions like this on your test tomorrow. So you need to know these formulas. Okay. The majority of your test is volume. There will be like 1 or 2 of these other questions. Okay, but you still need to know how to do them. So just because it was your last unit doesn't mean you should forget all that information, because in 2 months, 2.5 months, you're taking a final exam that has everything on it. Okay, so it's good that you have all this information as we go. All right, circumference. What's my formula for circumference?
2 pi r.
2 pi r. And my radius for number 13 is 20. So 2 times pi times 20 is 40 pi feet. Area of a circle, which we should be really good at, is pi r squared. And my radius is still 20. 20 squared is 400 pi feet squared. Arc length. Who remembers the arc length formula?
Oh,
Hold on.
M over 360 times 2 pi r.
And 2 pi r is your circumference, which you just found. Right? I know what the circumference is. So m is 45 over 360, and my circumference is 40 pi. I just found that. I don't need to plug it in again. Right? 45 over 360 times 40 gives you 5 pi feet for your arc length. 45 divided by 360 times 40 gives you 5 pi. Sector area. Same formula, except it's pi r squared. It's your area. So m over 360 times pi r squared. You already know what pi r squared is, your area is, because you just solved it. So 45 over 360 times 400 pi gives you 50 pi feet squared. If you want to take the steps and do each part again, that's fine. But if you already have the information, why do extra work? You know you don't like doing the work anyway. You might as well skip a couple of those steps if you can, right? Yes, Ezzy. I got 400 from the area up here because it's pi r squared. So r squared is 20, and 20 times 20 is 400. Are you okay with that? Okay. All right, last one. Circumference for 14. 2 times pi times 8 gives you 16 pi meters. Area. Pi times the radius squared, so 8 squared is 64 pi meters squared. Number 14, arc length, is 270 over 360 times my circumference, which is 2 pi r, and I already know that's 16 pi. So 270 over 360 times 16 pi gives you 12 pi meters. And sector area is the 270 over 360 times my area, which is 64 pi. And in your calculator, if you plug that in, you get 48 pi meters squared. What? Wait, what's wrong? No, there's no more. What's wrong? We good? Any questions? Okay, if for whatever reason I went too fast or you need to rewatch this, it will be posted on Google Classroom. Okay, so you can go through and watch the problems that you don't understand. But you need to do well on tomorrow's test. We only have a few left before final exams. And I know it seems like we're far away, but the first 2 months of school flew by. The next 2 months are going to go by just as fast. Okay, you need to do well on this next test. Yes.